As I told you last night, the government themselves have already admitted that they have plans ready to go for immediate action after this summit. Because you see, all of this is just a farce. The deals have already been done. They must pay their masters. Thanks very much for being the Bovril boys for us on the picket lines to create circumstances that mean that it's time to change a government, and thanks for being the standover people working at pre-poll and on election day for us. So what happens? People who represent less than 10% of real workers, not the public servants, they are going to end up getting massive swathes of new power at this summit in the next couple of days. But I'm pleased to say there are a few people starting to catch on. Well done to the Financial Review for having the balls in their editorial to notice that this is what is happening. We don't know what the government's position is going into this summit, but we know they've already made their decisions. They have not pulled the leash at all on the crazy stuff being said by the ACTU or, remember, the AWU, who wants any immigrant worker to be automatically signed up to a union. You've seen the Industrial Relations Minister, Tony Burke, openly talk about how it would be better for gender equality if there was industry-wide bargaining, more power for the union movement. So what do you think they're going to do? But of course, part of this farce is all about political and media management. You see, if you say that the decisions that we reached are all because all these people came into a room, then we have won. But of course, they've already made their decision. Everyone going is just playing their part. Because no doubt, this time next week, we will have heard that the decisions are about to be taken that were already made ages ago. But what about the low bar that Albo is able to set for these things? Imagine if any other Prime Minister was able to say that a meeting of key CEOs, all the states, all the premiers, all getting together, would be able to be successful before it even starts.
Look, already I regard it as a success. The fact that you're all here and we're talking about jobs and skills.
You're joking? The reason they were there at the press event that you had is because you put out a media release saying Prime Minister will be at insert factory at insert time. That's why they turned up, not because they have a newfound respect for jobs and skills. But then again, this low bar that Albo was able to set for himself and the media clap on, well, of course, remember, what would the media reaction have been if Tony Abbott had invited a black American basketballer to have an opinion about Indigenous issues? Well, of course, he was asked about this question, not at a press conference. He wasn't asked this question at the National Press Club. No, it was in the humble arms of the ABC.
The fact is that Shaq's appearance meant that people are talking about it.
What about, no. Sorry, 2SM. What is this garbage? That if we're talking about it, it's been a success. No. You see, pal, the difference between being the opposition and the government is that opposition is about yap. You can't make any decisions. When you're in government, it's actually about making decisions. And even though we know you've already made the decisions about the job summit, you want us to pretend that the yap matters. It's a little bit like, I couldn't believe the dog and pony today as well, when Albo is still out there saying, look, we've got to wait for National Cabinet to make a decision about the isolation rules, when, as you know, the South Sydney Rabbitohs were already tipped off days earlier that a decision will be made this week to cut the isolation period from 7 to 5 days. Oh, no, but we have to wait for the show pony meeting for that to take place first. No offence to Bunnies fans, including Chris Smith, who's threatening to walk off at the mere mention of controversy. But again, I repeat, imagine if Scott Morrison had somehow tipped off the Cronulla Sharks about an impending National Cabinet decision that may well advantage his own football team. Could you imagine? You could imagine the 4-part series they'd be doing on Four Corners. Bursting the Cronulla bubble. Quick, give them all the awards now. As for Peter Dutton, he is exactly in the right place where normal people... Now again, it's hard to hear his voice because the people who decide what voices you hear, they're invested in this new mob. They love this new mob because this Prime Minister gives interviews to anyone who will ask, well, unless, of course, you'll ask a tough question. But then the expectation is that already he gets rave reviews. Channel 9 are already saying, look, first 100 days, great. Let's see for the next 100. The Channel 9 newspapers are already saying that he's got a second term in the bag based off one poll. As for Peter Dutton, he is where we are, where you are.
Coming in with a slick advertising campaign is not going to be a substitute for answering legitimate questions that Australians, including Indigenous Australians, have in relation to the voice. So I think it's frankly a time to stop the stunts and to start to answer the questions.